for us. For all time.
Always.
Ravonna Renslayer, you are quite a marvel. I will be proud to lead with you.
I called it. I knew it was coming. The MCU strikes again. You just can't have a compelling male character, hero or villain anymore, within anything that Disney puts out. Toxic feminism has run rampant throughout everything Disney has touched, but things may be changing, the tide may be shifting as a new player has entered the fray. What does this mean for Loki and the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe? Join me, dear viewer, as I dive back into the dumpster fire that is Disney's Marvel. The latest episode of Loki further cemented the notion that the TV side of the MCU exists without any purpose. Fans of the movies largely skip the TV side of things, which makes it confusing for the movie-going audience when there's a reference to the TV side. The first 2 seasons of Loki, however, seem to have provided nothing in terms of exposition that relates to the larger world. Loki has done nothing to drive the overall plot forward. So why should we as the audience care? And just when we start to get into a complicated character like Kang the Conqueror, our expectations are subverted once more with the rise of Ravonna Renslayer. Over the past several years, during the dark age of cinema, there's been a move by studios to subvert an audience's expectations. What this usually means is that audiences are hoodwinked into thinking a story is about one thing, but it's really about spewing some woke ideology like toxic feminism, which is what we get in Loki. We as the audience think we're getting a show about Loki and Kang, but we get a show about female Loki and female Kang, because girl boss power. Ugh, I'm honestly sick of seeing all these Mary Sues, and it looks like now we're getting them as villains. Of course Renslayer is the one true Kang to rule the multiverse, and Victor Timely is made out to look like a hapless moron simply because of his gender. In the latest episode of Loki, we get the reveal that Renslayer is the ultimate Kang the Conqueror because, God forbid, we have a compelling male character. This is yet another example of toxic feminism within Marvel. You have to clamp down on males in order to prop up females. I'll keep saying this until I get it through their thick skulls. Men and women are not in competition with one another. Men and women complement one another like pieces of a puzzle. You can't have one without the other. And it's high time we started recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of each gender, not just try to turn one into the other. You can't keep insulting and clamping down on men only to elevate women. This doesn't resonate with audiences. And speaking of audiences, what Disney doesn't seem to understand is something that YouTube creators realize just before their channel explodes. Disney doesn't really know who its audience is. Historically, comic book shops were not frequented by members of the fairer sex. In fact, I can count the number of women who have subscriptions or recurring orders at any local comic book shop on one hand. So why is Disney trying to pander to an audience that isn't really there? This reminds me of She-Hulk. Who was that show really for? A bunch of mid-30s unmarried cat ladies wrote a show for other mid-30s unmarried cat ladies. Let me provide a little insight for Disney. Unmarried cat ladies are either out on the prowl to land a husband ASAP or at home with a pint of ice cream watching the latest season of Virgin River. They're not watching She-Hulk or Loki. Ratings have suffered because the wokester activists within Disney's ranks were pandering to themselves, a group so small they are statistically insignificant. And now the roosters are coming home to roost. A new player has entered the dumpster fire. Activist investor Nelson Peltz has recently increased his stake in Disney, and rumors are now swirling throughout FinTwit that he's got his eyes set on Bob Iger and all the woke activists within the company. Apparently, rich investors don't really like to lose money. Who knew? I've actually been calling for this for the better part of a year. The only way you're going to get rid of the woke garbage is to use the almighty dollar, and Nelson Peltz is doing just that. The more support he gets, the higher the chances Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and the band of wokesters will soon join the unemployment line. The fans may actually get what we want because already there are talks about the MCU being rebooted. I'm not really surprised that they're going for a full reboot, since they've spun what was a successful 10 years into a pile of garbage within the span of a few TV shows and terrible Phase 4. As far as Loki goes, I don't think you can ruin the character of Kang the Conqueror any more than they already have in this series and in Ant-Man 3. The character was set to be the next big bad villain of the entire MCU, but unlike the careful exposition in the first 3 phases of the MCU with Thanos, Marvel jumped the shark and wanted to squeeze all the value out of its next big villain straight away. The reason Thanos worked so well was because they took their time introducing the character over the course of a decade, slowly, methodically. With Kang, they got greedy, and now we have someone less memorable than even Ultron was in the second Avengers movie. As it stands now, the second season of Loki has spun itself into a toxic feminist knot that they won't be able to easily untangle. We again have a show where the main character is sidelined to tell the story of a less interesting character, not even pretending to ride his coattails. But what do you guys think of all this? Do you think Loki is actually going somewhere? And what do you guys think about Nelson Peltz and his effort to purge Disney of the activists? Please do let me know down below in the comments. And as always, hit that like button, ring that notification bell, and smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.